This is Gerald Tjova. Very coincidentally, I saw that the word te in Dutch, tu in English, and tai in Chinese are almost exactly the same, and they also sound the same. So it's very good to show them into my system of position watching, let's say. So the focuses of positions that we focus upon, and that gives us directions about what it is about. The basics, which method is best for me to express it, is actually also like I have in the background this theory of positions of focus. There are three very different kinds of focuses. Is this, and we can use it from the beginning, is this word about an object? So an objective focus with a certain form in space, yes or no? No. Is it about changes, about adaptation, about movements towards a certain direction, so that I can show you the movement, the directions? No. Is it an abstract reference via giving it some context? We know that already. It has a context, it has a grammatical context, it has that kind of context. So yeah, we have to focus upon context. It's a slightly different method. I gave a lot of attention a couple of videos back, and now I will have to go back to it. But I'll start from the fall, but I will put it into context because that's my focus about. And very interesting is also because I can also show you something about the philosophy, how it is being used, how the word Tai is used in Chinese. There is a philosophy behind the whole word system, and that's quite interesting to get to know. But we have the reference to context, so we will start from context. In the background, if you want to check out where does these images and so on comes from, check it out at the right. I will not give it too much attention, but I'll hope to explain what I'm saying well. So you have the letter T here, which is always about a functional placement, vertical into a frame, a spatial frame. If it was about an object, of course, I would have this focus upon an object, and I would look for what is there as a functional distinction. Basically, that is of course true if it were about such an object, and that would be enough to have as a focus. If the references that I have here are about an object alone, that's enough to have a very good idea what the letter T is about and where I have to look at. But we know it is about context, so of course we should place it into the perspective of how do we focus upon context, how do we define context with the letter T, and that is of course, our context is the focus up in space and time. And for that we have the three regions in total. There's a certain region which only is referring to the direct focus in space. There's a few other regions which are about timing. So they have different equations, they have different mathematics and so on. We look at it different. It's about timing, so it goes from left to right. So we need two focuses. That's a different perspective, but we have that as well. And then in the background, we have the general rules which play in the background, which also tells us in what direction do I have to look, to the past, to the future, to the general thing, to my thing, your thing. That kind of context is defined there. So here I will have the perspective of T at the right position in space. There is a definition about, and it gives us a few extra associations which are important to understand the full context of la letter T. Compared to A, it goes away from our focus of the first centering focus in space. It goes away, and it goes actually, if you can see that, you have this perspective line towards the horizon. We go as far as we can to the horizon, so it can be anywhere in between my center and, yeah, as far away as I can give. But in that way I can give it a perspective also in the context. And you know also by defining t how far you go into your estimation, and that is actually also defining, yeah, the placement somewhere. How distant is it from you? How distant is it from my center? And so on. You can define these kind of things easily with it. And this gives us a reference already to words that we already know. You have the Chinese words and English words. Ta, which is basically also a function with a certain placement, or at, also with a function as a certain placement, where you can define the subject or the object that we're using it. At, we know of course it's a preposition, and we also use it as a reference to time or place, or to place some sort of activity, so that we know where we are more or less and what is going on, also in that time frame reference as well, placed from our position as well. And this horizon is quite important for several reasons, also for the mathematics and so on. So it's at the infinity, it's at some point towards infinity, why the point in the middle is our basic reference of also a definition of what is the number one, what is defined, what do we know, and so on. And the further it is away, the further it's also away from what we already know, and it can be quite far away, of course. It's up until infinity almost. Combined with the letter E, we know it is about timing, because E is about timing, so there it is timed. So the reference point of that placement is given a reference point of timing, which also means that it is due to changes. It's dependent on changes. It's dependent on conditions, and so on. So we have to be careful that we really understand it. On the letter A, actually, the letter A itself has quite a lot of variations how you pronounce this letter. Here it is pronounced as and basically you can see them as frequencies. The lowest frequency then then E, then E, then E. All different sounds, and they are different heights, and they also are really showing a very good reference point where we are. Is really the basics of it's as basic as you can do. Is shows you the time process, and A as well in the full time process. E, the context as well into the time phrase, and E is what you put into something from context alone. So in that order you will see the difference. But here is about the lowest level of the lowest level of E. The lowest level of fits very well with that very far away distance of the horizon, and we basically say, okay, we define it, but what it really is already heading towards the unknown, towards it can be anywhere. Actually, we are losing a little bit that focus also away from the letter A, from our first focus, to say at least. So it is already too far away, of course, to define it well, and that's what the letter is about. Too far away brings us to the English word, which is not using the letter E, but the letter O, even two letters O, and it's placing itself also not just too far away, but also away from our focus. As a pronouncement of U, it also says, but also what I'm seeing here, it's still in development, it's not fully registered, it's not fully development, it's not fully available, it's not fully visible, it's not fully present. The letter U is about all these things that are under development. Also that one is too far away. And then we come to the Chinese word Tai. I have the three letters here in the basic positions, but you still have to read it a bit better. So you have T with A separate, and here in the right order so that I can read it well, T, A, and I. So there's a placement, there's a focus, and actually then you have the question, yeah, but is it applicable? And how is it expressed? Of course, always with a character, and that gives us extra perspective. It looks very much, again, like that perspective with, yeah, you can almost recognize, yeah, but I have something that comes out as an extra, and that's also, yeah, it's actually that extra is too, that you want to add it in, and it's that extra which is also too much actually. But now we come also to the character itself, which is pretty interesting to give it some extra associations. The letter A as a foundation in the Roman script is about focus into space. The characters in the Chinese system, of course, also about perspective, but they are also about perspective in the philosophy, a perspective, how you should have a perspective, not just in space, but also in your focus, in the timed processes, how you approach everything. And the basics of this perspective is here the human condition. It's the focus of man. This is the symbol of man. And I already said this man symbol or jeune fits into the system, and it also fits in the system like your perspective. This is your perspective, how we fit in, how we can run into this system. Basically, it's actually very interesting that run has also a different character, while the basics of a foundation of subjects and objects are ta, just like I explained before, which you have here two characters of it, the character of he and of she, in which the first character is again the jeune, which takes a step and gives it a foundation with some variations how this man can look like, or how, and it's also expressed as it can be also expressed as the differences that you can find, and the woman symbol there also with the differences to be found with its variations. That's actually the ta is that one position of the personal application of a man in the form of he as ta, or she also as ta. Jeune as the man actually, which means human also has a different symbol, also with this stepping position, not just with one position, but with two positions that it deals with, and that's the philosophy. It's the number 2, which means the application of the contextual frame of ideas of context that is the abstract context that gives things a purpose, the heavens that are behind it with concepts that makes it fit not from one human but to different humans, and so that one human or one person also is fitting to what is needed to all humans, so that you can be humane, let's say. And this jeune actually, it's not just only fitting in and running into the system in a Confucian way, it's also looking up towards these higher principles, and that's also one of the meanings of this word. And I found it very interesting, because we have that perspective in the middle, this T, which here is getting out of focus, and actually says, yeah, but I have that placement with a focus, but the extras that I have, are they still applicable? And in a way, it's because of these extras, because of these extra focuses and going to different legs, now these results are already slightly off, so it's already going too far, too much. It's these extras also still fitting in, but they are already in the category of too much, te veel, and so on. So the T is functionally going further away. The run here, which I had here, was as focus upon it, and I inserted here what is available and is applicable, but this extra focus really is already taking me off guard, is having already more results than I anticipated, and I deal with it. I'll do something with it, and that's the expression there that you can learn to understand. It's this. It's also the symbol of growing without the what's coming out. It's growing further with the extras, and these extras, I'm not sure if I can use it or not. Let's see if we can use it or not. That's the TAI. I hope you enjoyed this one. There were, of course, 3 words that were more or less the same expression, and I had also some little philosophy around it that might be interesting. I found that interesting myself, but as a matter of speaking. So I wanted to tell you this myself. Okay, thanks again. Bye.